Okay, in the last session we talked about basic probability theory. We looked at the law of large numbers. We differentiated between short-term luck and long-term probabilities. And we discovered the meaning of a trading edge, how it's derived, and did a couple experiments to kind of bring all these things home on a more internal, implicit level. Now we're going to be getting into how all this stuff applies to trading, how you actually measure the edge of any specific strategy or system in trading, how you can find out the overall value of a specific strategy or system, and how you can compare different ones and see which is the best one. So this is very, very important stuff. Make sure to pay close attention and let's get right into it. Okay, so the first thing I want to just clarify here is that edge, when we're talking in statistical terms, is known as expectancy. Okay? So we'll use these terms interchangeably, but in statistics, the actual term is called expectancy. Now, what are the components of expectancy? Well, we had discussed that in the previous session, and so let's take a look at that. So as we talked about before, edge or expectancy is a product of two things. One is accuracy, i.e. what percentage of your trades actually make money or win. And the other is reward to risk, i.e. how big are your winners versus your losers. Now there's an actual formula, an expectancy formula that we can use to determine the edge of any given strategy or system. So let's take a look at that. So this is the expectancy formula. It takes the percentage of winners you have in your system, multiplies it by how much you win per winner, and from that whole thing subtracts your percentage of losers times the dollar per loser. Now, this might seem complicated, so let's actually take a look at an example and see that it's pretty simple. All right, here we have this example, right? Let's assume your trading strategy has 40% winners, right? You make money 4 out of 10 times. And on average, each of those winners makes you $200. That's on average. Some could be a little more, some could be a little less, but when you average out all your winners, right, you take all your profits and divide them by the number of winners, you get $200 per winner. Well, if you have 40% winners, obviously you have 60% losers. And when you average out your losers, let's assume you find out that it's $100 per loser. So given these parameters, right, if you came and told me, hey, I'm a trader, I win 40% of the time, make $200 per winner, and when I lose $100. I could tell you your trading edge using this formula. And your expectancy, or your edge, would be $20. Now what does this mean? This means that over a large number of trades, the average amount you will make per trade once you combine all your winners and losers together, the average net result per trade is $20. So here, your losses are $100, right? So that's basically what you're risking each time you take a trade. This formula is telling you that on average, you make a $20 return for every $100 you're risking. So the important thing here to know is that it's a positive number, right? You have a positive expectancy. And when you have a positive expectancy, that means you have an edge. If this was 0, there would be no edge. And if it was a negative number, right, which would be the case, let's say if your losers were $200 and your winners were only $100, that system would be a losing system. If you kept trading it, you would be losing money over time. And that's what the casino does. It makes it a losing system for you. So the system in the casino, right, gives you a negative expectancy and gives the casino a positive one. Now, the expectancy of the system is telling you that on average, you're going to make about $20 per trade. But does that mean if you took, 10 trades right now, you had 10 trades, does that mean that at $20 per trade, you were just going to be up $200? Well, no. And why not? Think about that. You should be able to answer that Now, even though this is a positive expectancy system, right, it doesn't mean that if you took 10 trades now, you're going to make $200 with this expectancy. And the reason for that is that this is too small of a sample size. It's too short term. Luck or randomness is going to play a factor here. And what does that mean? That means that you just randomly have 8 losers in this 10 trade stretch. Despite these being the probabilities, 40% winners and 60% losers, it doesn't mean that's going to happen in these 10 trades. That's over a large number, right? The law of large numbers. But on the small numbers, it could be, 8 losers. So if it was 8 losers, you'd have 8 times $100 per loser. That's minus 800. And you'd only have $400, 2 times 200 on the winners. And you'd actually lose $400 in this example. And so this positive expectancy system would be making you lose money over those 10 trades. But if you were to trade it over a large number of trades, and when we say large number, in statistics, there's something called a statistically significant sample size, right? i.e., what is a large number? A large enough number to have the probabilities actually play out and minimize the role of luck. And that number is usually 30. Now, that's the statistical number that gives you some confidence, but in reality, you should be looking at least, my opinion, 100, right? So if you wanted to know what is your expectancy of your strategy, of your system, you should take at least 100 trades, find out the percentage losers, find out the percentage winners, and calculate how much you make on your average winner and how much you lose on your average loser, and put them in this formula and find out your expectancy. But use at least 100 trades or so. That's going to give you a little more accuracy because that's a large enough number. And it doesn't have to be a million like I was talking about in the last session. That was just an extreme example, right? But 100 or so is going to give you a pretty decent idea of your actual edge or your actual expectancy. Now, having said that, expectancy is extremely important. This is very important to understand. But it's not the only important thing. The other thing we have is frequency. And frequency is basically asking you how many trades do you get per any given period of time. In a week, how many trades do you get? In a whole year, how many trades does your strategy or system produce? And what we'll find out is that frequency combines with expectancy to give you the true value of your trading system. All right? Now what we're going to do is get into some little case studies to kind of put all this stuff into action and see how it works so you can understand it at a deeper level. All right? So we're going to compare 4 different trading systems or strategies, each with its own percentage winners and each with its own reward to risk. And we're going to see which is the best one. So let's take a look at that now. All right, first we have strategy 1. And strategy 1 is a strategy where we have 70% accuracy, i.e. our win rate, we win 70% of the time, and the losers and the winners are equal in size, right? So for example, we could say our winners on average are $1,000, our losers on average are $1,000, so they're 1-to-1, okay? Strategy 2 has 40% accuracy, but it has 3-to-1 reward to risk. So basically our winners are 3 times as big as our losers on average. If our losers are $100, our winners are $300. Now strategy 3 is a strategy with 90% accuracy. Very accurate strategy. But the losers are 10 times larger than the winners. Okay? So if we make $50 per winner, we're losing $500 each time we lose. But, we're accurate 90% of the time. And then finally, strategy 4 has 20% accuracy, right? So very low accuracy. But it has 5-to-1 reward to risk. So we win 5 times as much on the winners as we lose on the losers. So taking a look at these 4 strategies, if you had to pick the one that you would want to trade, which one would that be? i.e., which do you think is the most profitable strategy, or the one that has the highest expectancy, right? The highest expectancy one, when we're looking now just at expectancy, is going to be the best strategy. So pick the one that you think is going to be the best one. Okay? If you want to think about it, pause this video, think about it, and then continue. Alright, so now let's actually take a look at each of the expectancies of these strategies. Alright? When you put in the formula of the parameters we just gave, strategy 1 has a 0.4 expectancy. Now, since we're not talking dollar terms here, right, we didn't actually specify on the reward to risk $100 or $200. We just said 1 to 1 or 5 to 1 or whatever it was. So that's why it's a decimal. It's basically looking at, how much does this strategy earn per dollar. So it earns 40 cents per dollar. Now, if you actually wanted to look at the actual amount, you just find out what is the actual average size of risk or loss. So if it's 100, then 0.4 times 100 would be $40. But this is showing it to you per dollar. We're just equalizing all the strategies. Okay? Now strategy 2 turns out has a 0.8 expectancy. So strategy 2, despite the fact that it was only 40% accuracy versus strategy 1's 70% accuracy, because it had high reward to risk, because the reward was 3 times the size of the risk, right? The winners are 3 times larger than the losers on average. This strategy ends up having an expectancy that's twice as large as the first strategy. So we got a more profitable strategy here. And for those who went with the accuracy of strategy 1, you were fooled. Traders usually want accuracy. They want to be right. They want to ring the cash register. But this shows that it's not about the accuracy. It's about the expectancy. Very different, right? When you combine accuracy and reward to risk, you start to think in terms of edge or expectancy. And now you're not fooled by those, you see those commercials, oh, this trading system wins 80% of the time. Who cares? What is its expectancy? Because as we'll notice, look at strategy 3. Strategy 3 has a negative expectancy. That means it's a losing system. You are going to lose money. Nothing will save you from losing money in trading this. You can't get lucky. You might get lucky in the short term if you took 10 trades, sure, right? But if you take 100, 200, 300 trades of this, you are going to lose money. Probabilities guarantee it. So if you were fooled by that 90% accuracy, well, looking at expectancy would allow you not to make that mistake. And just as a side note, a lot of that stuff you'll see out there, a lot of those ads and banners on trading sites or on Google that show you, oh, this system wins 90% of the time. A lot of the time, they have negative expectancy, right? They win a lot of the time, most of the time, but the losers, when they lose, are huge, right? So their winners, they could be winning $100 each time, and they will win 9 out of 10 times. So traders will go, wow, that's amazing. But that one loss will be $1,000 loss. And overall, it ends up having a negative edge. So don't be fooled by that, and expectancy allows you not to be. And then finally, we get to strategy 4, which is the really low accuracy, right? Very low accuracy at only 20%. And what was that expectancy? We find out that it's 0.2. So it's not as high as the others, but despite it only being accurate 20% of the times, right? It still had a positive edge. It still returned 20 cents to every dollar you risked, which is actually pretty good. So I hope now you see how edge changes things. You're not looking at being right or what's the most accurate anymore. You're looking at the overall value of the system. But like we just said before, there's another element here. There's another variable, and that's the variable of frequency. And only when we combine that and add that in are we going to truly find out which of these strategies is the most valuable, is the most profitable one overall. So let's see what we mean by this. Right now, strategy 2 seems to be the most profitable strategy that you can trade, with strategy 1 being second most, strategy 4 being third most, and strategy 3 being an outright loser. But now let's add frequency in and see what happens. So in strategy 1, we have 800 trades a year. And these are hypothetical. I'm just trying to explain this stuff to you. Okay, so let's assume strategy 1 has 800 trades a year. Strategy 2 produces only 100 trades a year. It's just a different type of system, right? It's a, maybe strategy one is more active intraday trading, and strategy two only takes a couple trades a week, whatever it may be. Strategy three is a scalping method in which you take 1,200 trades a year. And then finally, strategy four is somewhere in the middle there, and you take 400 trades a year. So now, how do these things combine with expectancy, okay, to give us the true profitability of each strategy? Now, to do this, we're going to assume that your average risk is $100 per trade. So your average loss is $100. So based on the expectancy and based on the frequency, how much money would you make per strategy per year? Now we had said strategy 2 had the highest expectancy, followed by 1, then 4, then 3. So now taking a look at this, which do you think will be the actual most profitable strategy overall? Take a moment to think about it. Pause the video if you have to, and then we'll continue. Okay, so let's actually take a look at these. Again, we're assuming $100 risk per trade. So let's take a look at it. Strategy 1 ends up producing a total profit of $32,000. How did we do this? Well, it's 800 trades a year, right? And the average risk is $100 with an expectancy of 0.4. That means with a $100 risk and expectancy of 0.4, you're going to make on average $40, right? 0.4 times 100 per trade. $40 per trade. And since you have 800 trades in the whole year, that gives you a total profit of $32,000. So not bad. Let's take a look at strategy 2. Strategy 2 only gives you a profit of $8,000. If you remember, strategy 2 had the highest expectancy of 0.8, right? So it looked like the best strategy at that point. But wait, it only gives you 100 trades a year. And when you multiply those, you're only getting $8,000 of total profit. So it doesn't look as great as it was. Well, what about strategy 3? Yes, it had a negative expectancy, but it has the highest frequency. So does that improve things? Well, of course not. I hope you've understood that anything with a negative expectancy is going to lose money. And actually, it makes it worse now that you have higher frequency. Here it plays the other way, right? We had 1,200 trades in strategy 3, but we were losing $10 each trade. So we lost 12,000. So here it's actually worse that you traded more. It would have been much better. You would have decreased your losses if you had traded less on this strategy. So frequency with a negative edge multiplies those losses. Of course, the best thing would be not to trade this strategy at all. And the strategy 4 also gave you $8,000 of profits, just like strategy 2. Now, if we remember, strategy 2 had 0.8 expectancy. Strategy 4 had only 0.2. So strategy 2 looked like it was 4 times more profitable than strategy 4. But strategy 4 has 4 times as many trades per year as strategy 2. So they end up equalizing in total profit. And so based on all this, when we combine expectancy with frequency, we get the true value of any particular strategy. And the frequency doesn't have to be per year. You can take any period you want, just as long as you equalize the periods when you're comparing strategies. So looking at this, we see that strategy 1, in this case, was the strategy that was the best one. It wasn't because it was 70% winners. That's what someone might assume wrong. You say, oh yeah, 70% strategy, of course that's the best one. But we saw that it actually did not have the best expectancy. Strategy 2 did. Now assume strategy 2 had the same frequency as strategy 1, right? That strategy 2 actually produced 800 trades per year instead of only 100. Well, then definitely strategy 2 would be the best. It's going to make you $64,000. Which gives us the conclusion that if we have the same frequency, i.e. we have two strategies that, let's say, both produce 1,000 trades a year, the one with the higher expectancy is going to be the most profitable one, naturally. But if frequency isn't equal, then we're actually going to have to use a little math to find out which strategy is more profitable. And overall, if you have a negative expectancy, it's going to lose money. Now, if you're currently trading now, and let's say you're a discretionary trader, you might be in the process of learning. And so your expectancy naturally is probably going to be negative unless you're already a consistently profitable trader. What you gotta do is build up your skills, build up your market reading ability, build up your strategy, build up your execution skills, all things we're going to get into, to the point where you can get to a positive expectancy. And if you notice, I'm not talking about frequency yet, I'm just talking about expectancy. A positive expectancy has nothing to do with how much money you have in your account, it has nothing to do with how much size you trade. It's just a formula that includes accuracy and the relative ratio of reward to risk. That's it. So before you do anything, before you start trading size, before you do anything else, you gotta get to a positive expectancy. Then, after you have a positive expectancy, you can look to see if there are other markets or other time frames, right, with the similar setups that you can increase the frequency to give you overall higher profit. But don't be worrying about frequency before you actually have an edge, just like strategy 3. Who cares how many trades you get out of that? If it's losing money, you're going to lose money, right? And once you understand these basics, you're going to be in a much better position moving forward in your trading. You're going to stop caring so much about accuracy. You're going to start focusing on what's the expectancy overall of the overall system. Once you have a positive expectancy, then you're going to be looking at, what kind of frequency do I get of trades? And you're going to try to improve that once you already have a positive system. And I hope all this makes a lot of sense to you, because this is key and most traders don't focus on this stuff. In the sports betting world or the poker world, this stuff is just, they see it as almost common sense. It's just known. And somehow in trading, it seems like traders have forgotten that, hey, it's not about accuracy. It's not about, calling the market right or forecasting it. Yeah, those things play into only one aspect of it. But there's more things to look at. There's the overall expectancy, then there's the frequency. But then there's also one other major thing, and that's the position sizing. And the position sizing is what we're going to get to in the next session. Position sizing is huge. It's going to be a key factor in whether you make it as a trader or not. And we're going to take a look at it, how it relates to expectancy and frequency, what it really means, how to calculate the right position sizing, and what it can do when it's off and you're not disciplined with it. So that'll be a very important session to take note of, and it's coming up next. But these are great foundations in building up to it.